And welcome back to an episode of Geek Centurions, me boy live.
Me, Joe.
And so we're back for our annual Halloween retrospective horror movie. I don't have a real name for it, but usually around this time we like to look back on a classic horror movie. I like to specify with classic because I feel like if we did anything modern, it'd be like, nothing against the modern stuff. It's more like
It's fun to look back at the old stuff,
it
right?
is very much fun to look back at the old stuff. And funny enough, we originally wanted to do John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, the 1982 thing.
But here's the thing. Yeah, no, everyone's yeah, boo, same joke, whatever. We did not have time to look for that movie.
It was on Peacock, but unfortunately Peacock doesn't do like a free trial. Like you have to actually no. If you want Peacock, you have to commit.
And I don't want to commit anymore to any more streaming services. God damn it, I don't want to deal with it. I'm so tired, and I do not have time to sell the 7 Cs. I'll say that.
Yeah,
that was me in the past. Me in the past would have found it immediately, but now me in the present, like I'm too tired.
You want convenience, and that's what streaming services give you.
Yeah, that is the sad part.
So
that's our soapbox right now.
Yeah, but so we decided to pivot last minute and go with another sci-fi horror movie that involves people not being who they say they are, right?
Yep.
A bit of imposter syndrome, a bit of Among Us, if you will. They live among us.
No, I mean I wish we did They Live, but we ended up going with another true classic. Really, it's going to be more of a body snatch kind of a story.
Yes, an invasion, if you say.
An invasion of body snatchers. Yeah, so we're talking about the invasion of the body snatchers, the 1978. Is it 78? 73.
I think it's 78.
78 sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 1978. The horror classic, a remake of the first Body Snatchers movie that came out in 1956, which is based on a book, The Body Snatchers. I made sure to do a little research for this movie. So yeah, we went and go ahead and watched that movie, and it still holds up.
Yeah.
It's a little slower, but I think that might be a little issue for some people. But then again, it's the 70s. A lot of movies tend to be slower.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of works well to its sort of core, which I mean, obviously, if you can't tell by the title of the movie, it's basically these alien life forms from another planet that come in as
great
pods.
Effect, by the way, when at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool effect. But yeah, they're like these plant things, like they're spores or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They land on the planet. They create like these plant pods that
people.
Mostly pods, sometimes people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they essentially recreate like the person and essentially take their body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that the original being is no more. You know, they sort of replace them, and it's this whole sort of dramatic tension of the characters. We had like Elizabeth, who's like sort of our main heroine, right? Who's like feels like her husband has been replaced, along with who talks with one of her colleagues, Michael, who's like they both work at the health department, and they sort of slowly start to see a lot of weird things going on. A lot of people starting to act a little suspicious, sus, if you will, you know.
Oh yeah.
And you know, it becomes this whole sort of thing of like, yeah, it's these people have been replaced. They're starting to appear everywhere, you know, and now it's like, who can you trust? How are they going to stop this? You know, it's sort of a building tension of that, of like, how does this go out?
Who do you trust? Who's on your side? And it's funny to mention the fact that I just talked about how this is a remake. There's like 4 different versions of this story in terms of like film. So like earlier I talked about how it was based on a book, The Body Snatchers. And then we have the original
Invasion of Body Snatchers,
which was in 1956. And then we have this one, and then apparently there was one in the 90s. I think it was just called Body Snatchers. And then we recently had one in like the mid to early 2000s, I want to say, called Invasion.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how the basic plot of Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of transcends time in a way.
Well, it's just like it's the question of the unknown, right? The who is who, right? Who is like it's the other that you don't know but looks like you but isn't you, right?
Sort of like an uncanny horror like
Yeah.
valley sort of thing,
Mhm.
right? Of like they look human, they act human, but there's something off about them
There's
that
something wrong.
yeah.
Yeah, and like looking into like the original book, apparently that one ends in a more happier note.
Yeah, because obviously the ending of this movie is very well famous. Like,
Yeah,
if you haven't seen this movie, I think you've seen.
everyone's used that ending sequence.
Yes, pretty
Yeah,
much.
it's been referenced a million times.
Mm-hmm.
Like a million now. I'm thinking of like that one scene in South Park during the console war trilogy,
Yeah.
where like Black Friday, and it's the guy with the doing the scream. What's his name? The actor. He's in like the the Hunger Games movies.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
No, the one that's in this one right now. In this movie.
He's
He's the
Donald
main.
Sutherland,
Yeah,
right?
Donald Sutherland is the bad guy in the movie. In the Hunger Games, he's a good guy in this one.
Right, that's why he looks so familiar now.
We completely ignored the introduction of all the cast members that are in this movie.
Funny enough, cause I mean, when you started watching it, you were like, "Wait, Leonard Nimoy's in this movie?" I'm like, "Oh, that's cool, I guess."
Yeah.
Doesn't do any Spock stuff, but I mean, he plays a psychiatrist or whatever. And then of course, I didn't pay attention to the names, and then only later on, I'm like, "Wait, Jeff Goldblum's in this?"
Yeah, we were too mesmerized by the sequence of like the spores coming to Earth.
Yeah, it's a very memorable sequence. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think I remember saying sort of like, man, this is like the third weird sci-fi movie I've seen Jeff Goldblum in. I mean, it's probably the second weirdest one because obviously I ranked it as
The Fly is the most.
The Fly, obviously, the craziest, and probably Jurassic Park is the least craziest.
It's so funny to see Goldblum just like his journey into a film.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically speaking, Jurassic Park was probably his breakout, right?
No, it was The Fly.
It was, yeah, that probably makes sense. The
And
Fly
it was
is,
like in between those, Fly and something else in between that area
yeah,
of this and Jurassic Park.
yeah, it's a sort of a interesting sort of career path for him. But anyways, going back to the movie, right? You were
Yeah,
saying about
Yeah, so in the original book, from my understanding, where because there's been comparisons about how each of the movie ends and like what the movie's kind of like meant to represent. So in the original book, it's more of a happy ending because the aliens leave. Because from my understanding, the end's like, okay, you humans are too annoying to conquer. We're just gonna leave.
that's such a funny way of the humans winning. I mean, because I mean, like something like War of the Worlds, right? The aliens die because of our bacteria, which is poetic. It makes sense, right? In terms of like, it refers back to something like the Columbian Exchange, right? When the Europeans got to the New World, right? They spread the disease that killed a lot of native stuff.
And
Similar thing would happen.
And they in turn received diseases that they were not accustomed to.
Yeah, it's sort of that thing. Yeah, that happens, right?
Mm.
Here, it's just funny. It's like you guys are just
It's so annoying.
yeah, because I mean, obviously, the whole point of the aliens or these pod people is that they essentially replicate a person, but they don't have a whole lot of emotions. Like they no longer want or need like love or affection or care. I think even Leonard Nimoy's character, I forget his name, but he's sort of like you'll become a higher being of no longer will you need to know fear or stuff like that. You'll be at peace kind of thing.
It's sort of like saying like once you reach a certain point you become like no longer like trivial matters don't matter to you, but what is considered a trivial matter to someone specifically,
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah. I was a bit like in the original film. That one ends similar to this one where it's like, but it's such like a 1950s kind of way. It's like they're here, they're everywhere, follow it, and that kind of led to like a lot of conversations of what the movie meant. And this is one of those funny things I always find funny about filmmakers. Sometimes they'll make something that is misread, even though that was never intended to be like read. So, because like apparently in the original film, there was a lot of argument whether it was, commentary on communism or at the time McCarthyism.
Yeah, which I mean, for history, for people who don't know the history about that, so obviously back in the 50s, right?
Mhm.
It's the Cold War, America versus Soviet Union, capitalism versus communism, that sort of thing, right? And there's this guy, Senator John McCarthy, I think.
John McCarthy.
Yeah, he essentially got a list of was parading a list of people who he thought were communists in the U.S. government or just like in the U.S. in general.
Mhm.
I think most of it was pretty bullshit. I mean, because there were.
I mean, they were pretty bullshit.
Yeah, because
it was a literal witch hunt.
Yeah, because there were. I mean, obviously there were like KGB agents in the U.S. trying to track stuff. Same thing over there, right? Because it was pretty much a espionage game between the U.S. and Russia in the Soviet Union, right?
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of stir of like, can you trust your neighbor? Is he a Soviet spy? That sort of thing. And yeah, I get it, right? I get why that first movie would get that tone because yeah, you are sort of questioning, is this a real person? Are you a pod person, right? And that
Mhm.
sort of thing, right? And I get why that sort of gets intertwined in sort of the
Mhm.
reading of the text of
Yeah.
like
Especially like the McCarthyism, because McCarthyism was like everyone was like
very paranoid.
paranoid, and then like everyone was like being forced to do, what they seen was right.
Yeah, and like try to prove that they are who they say they are. So right, yeah.
So that one makes sense. So like, and thinking about that, and I kept thinking about so what's the message for this one then, or what's the interpretation that people will get from this? Because like that was never intended by the original director, but it was still such like a moment of time, and considering how we have so many of these now, I wondered if like each one like a reflective of their respective time period. And I brought this up to you, like I could not tell for at first. I kind of had some ideas, but for me it was very much like this association with empathy and emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I think about that scene in the film where Donald Sutherland's character is driving, and he almost runs over a guy, and he's telling him, "They're everywhere, they're here," and then like he runs away and only to be chased by like a mob.
Yeah.
And then like the police come in, he's like, "Oh, it's fine, the police got it," and then you find him dead on the ground.
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow, what is that?" That's interesting. It's like I said, like I feel like a lack of empathy because like for them it was like, "Oh, this is some crazy guy, no one really cares," and then like it turns out that crazy guy was right on the money.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. Because I think yeah, because when you brought it up to me, because I think I was halfway through the movie at
Mm-hmm.
that point, and I thought about it a little bit because I thought of like maybe three potential readings you can think of
Mm-hmm.
off the top of my head. I think the first one I'm gonna go with is I thought it was an interesting take, but now I'm kind of less into it. So,
Mm-hmm.
is sort of like maybe it's a messaging about like cults.
Mm-hmm.
Because during the 70s, there were a fair amount of cults happening around the
Yeah, we were
time.
talking about this because you were asking me if there was any specific cults around the time, and I just couldn't remember anything specific. Because that was a good summer. I was really into learning about cults. Not that I think I was one, but I'm just like
The idea of cults and cult mentality got me
exactly
interested.
that always something that always caught my attention.
And then I think we landed on Jonestown,
Yeah,
right? The People's Church or whatever.
yeah, the People's Church, Jim Jones, and all the horrible things that came out of.
Which, from what we looked up, or you looked up anyway,
Yeah.
it happened in the same year the movie came out. But it wasn't like at the same time, or was
No,
it?
no, no. So it wouldn't make any sense that the film would be a direct response to that.
Yeah.
It was because like they would happen the same year, and then like you gotta think about how often films are.
Yeah, no. But my argument was that like they were in the news still.
No, yeah. Because like the thing about Jim Jones was like he was getting a lot of attention because he was like promoting a lot of these sort of like ideas that were very counterculture. But in reality, he was kind of like just using that to get all the attention that he kind of wanted.
Get about power and
Exactly.
sort of stuff.
Yeah. Like
yeah.
he was like misusing a lot of ideas that is meant to be very for good for people, but like he did not. He was not using it for the good of what he was saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm.
And then because I won't lie, I'm starting to lean maybe against a bit of that theory, or at least that reading, only because like at the end of the day, like cult, like the pod people here are forcing people to become pod people, right? It's not like they're convincing you. I mean, a little bit, but it all starts. There are alien life forms that just parasitic. They just attach to people. Just attach their that whole thing, right? It's a bit different from like say like how a cult works. I mean, I can understand like a little bit of because
it's the mob mentality.
The mob mentality maybe is probably where I was getting there, but ultimately I'm kind of leaning less to that reading. Although I at the same time I could definitely see somebody having that reading. The second one was sort of kind of like maybe it's like a government thing or like sort of like,
I feel like that one's definitely makes a lot more sense.
Because I mean, granted, our main characters work for the Department of Health, but it becomes very apparent through the movie is that these pod people get into the government and they start to like really.
So when you say that, there's like two specific scenes that I think about because Donald Sutherland's character is a government health official. He's essentially like he's at a restaurant at the beginning of the movie, like checking for like, you know, making sure it's up to health code.
Yeah, he's doing health inspector stuff.
Yeah, which is like, as someone who's worked in the service industry, they can be a pain, but they're not wrong at the time.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they're doing their job. They're making sure that this restaurant is clean. There aren't any, you know, stuff like bugs or rats or whatever, you know, anything unhealthy that can get into the food, that sort of thing, right?
And like they never, and personally I'll say this right now, they never make him out to be like he was wrong about what he was investigating in that.
And it's also, and it's also very clear that like all the staff are giving themselves like the the look, that way they can be like making sure to like hide stuff, or you know at the end of the scene, where they just like break a glass of like wine or whatever into his car, like the front of his car is cracked now. And they sort of just look at him, or just like, how dare you, you know, come in.
Dude, we're trying to make a living here.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, but if you're also working, it's one of those things like people who work in the service industry know to make sure not to make, like, do like, you know, clean up after themselves and maintain like a nice, perfect like work environment. For food, because there's a lot of things that people go through when it comes to the service industry. I feel like a lot of people don't know that. Trust me, as someone who works in it. So that I totally get, but also like because like they're distrusting of him because he is like a, you know,
a government official.
Yeah, and then there's that scene at the end of the movie where it's before he does the scream. It's where he's walking to what essentially is like, it's not the not the U.S. Capitol, but it's like clearly a place of government, you know, work.
Yeah, like maybe like the city hall or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
and like throughout the film, especially there's a lot of like plants. There's a lot of like nature kind of thing. But there, everything's kind of dead. The trees are dead.
Yeah.
They're cut down. It's like, you know, like this, like it's this rotten core, I would say. That's kind of how I saw it as.
Yeah, I was leaning more towards because they like straight up the pod people take over the police, like.
Yes, that too. That
was a part of my brain that went like, oh, that's like. Yeah. Like a bit less subtle than what you're saying, but clearly one of those things of like when a sort of the pod people taking over the police is kind of like an authoritarian thing. Like he calls the police to tell them, hey, I got these bodies back here, and it's like, oh, we'll come your way, Mr. Burnell or whatever. It's like, I didn't give you my name, and that's sort of like for me is like that's crazy, right? Like that's sort of like I could imagine somebody being like. It's so distrusting of like government stuff or like state like you know reaching stuff that like the fact that you could just that can happen in somebody's brain or whatever of like an alien invasion to take over the main body of the government, and heck the fact that like at night they're all like coordinated and organized through all this stuff to like spread the pods as far as possible and stuff, and you know it's sort of like that's how big it is, right? Like that's how crazy it all goes.
It's an undersea underbelly, you know. What do you call it when like if it's like secretly like organized, like group. I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
Like a like a secret society?
No, I wouldn't say that. Like whenever they use like the word underbelly of
Nah, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, okay.
I can't think of anything
No,
off the top of my
no.
head that could.
No, but I was gonna say like you and I we were also discussing more about this. It's like this is like right after the whole Watergate scandal.
Yeah, which is why I think that sort of government distrust thing might be a bit more of an interesting reading.
Yeah, and sort of the change of like society. I feel too. That's kind of where I was going with it, with the idea of like these are aliens who lack empathy, like all this kind of stuff, or becoming a pod person takes away your sense of emotions
And humanity.
Humanity,
Yeah.
because like there's the Leonard Nimoy character who's like a psychiatrist, right?
Yeah.
Who's like kind of really bad at his job.
I mean, dude's literally, well, to be fair, dude becomes a pod person. I don't know when he began.
We don't know when he becomes a pod person.
But he's also very much of like, because Elizabeth, the main female character, gets sort of like put to talk to him, or like, I don't think my husband is my husband anymore, and he sort of goes off on a bit of a rant about like, this is why marriages are failing, you're just trying to look for a way to get out of this relationship or whatever, and it's just sort of like,
you're blaming your husband when you should blame yourself.
Yeah, that sort of thing. It's like, I don't know if that's what a psychiatrist should be saying to a lady.
No. And then he randomly attacks Jeff Goldblum.
Well, yeah, to like prove like some sort of point of like, this is empathy or whatever, you got scared because I did that, or were you thinking like, it doesn't bother me, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's just so weird.
Yeah, very, very weird, very weird.
That's why I'm like, why are we shitting on psychiatrists?
I mean, I guess it's maybe like, I don't know, some sort of like, these guys think they know a lot, but a lot of them kind of talk a bunch of bull,
It probably is because of the time frame too. This is the 70s.
Yeah, maybe.
You would have like those televised psychiatrist kind of stuff. Now that I think about it,
maybe. Yeah, maybe.
It would be the same vein as those guys who like really look into like not psychology but psychics. Like,
yeah,
you're a bunch of frauds.
Yeah.
Not saying psychiatry is a fraud, but like if you're on TV, I'm less believable of you.
Like a Dr. Phil type, right?
Yeah.
Like
You're like, are you an actual doctor?
I don't know. I need to look into his credentials, but yeah, no. Oh gosh, I think I said there was a third thing I was thinking about, but I can't remember it now. Of like a potential like reading of like the pod people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess, no, I can't think of it anymore. I think I was gonna go something along the lines of like maybe the end of counterculture.
Yes, you did talk about that. Just because like there's a because everything about the way there's a lot of moments that I feel like you can connect that one of those being like the doctor being like the end of the family unit.
Yeah,
because you gotta remember the 70s. Before the 70s, it was the whole nuclear family thing.
Well, yeah, the 50s was defined by like the nuclear family unit, right? Mom, dad, 2 kids, a dog, white picket fence, that sort of ideal. Then the 60s happened, counterculture sort of stuff, 60s, 70s, all that stuff. But ultimately, because this is 78, we're gonna head into the 80s, which is kind of defined as sort of a return to family values kind of thing that a lot of people wanted to do.
The Reagan era.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Like you gotta like a lot of those 80s sitcoms try to like bring back that sort of family dynamic, right? So yeah, I could see that. Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, you could see like maybe an underlying of like, oh, these people are conforming to the changing of society at the time or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's the end of like a counterculture movement in America, and this is how it's sort of being viewed in the lens of the story. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Though I will say like either or, it does go into what essentially I feel like this movie really captures in the sense of the fear and like the horror that is sort of like invasion. Like you were talking about how one of your favorite aspects was the fact that there was a lot of paranoia going on in the first few minutes of this movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like, I think there's that moment where Matthew, Donald Sutherland's character, is calling as many people as he can, police, government officials, whatever, and this sort of like the like quick cuts back and forth, and like the calls of being like, are you crazy, or like, are you making this up? And he's like, no, 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 this constant back and forth, and ultimately, it drives that sort of sense of like paranoia in the audience. And heck, the fact that the pod people can only assimilate you when you go to sleep, so our main characters have to force themselves not to go to sleep, which is that's a hard thing to do for a human being.
Yeah.
Right. That's ultimately a very you know that just drives your the paranoia even further, right?
I was gonna say for me it was just the constant stares.
That too, right? Of like you notice people are staring now, and that drives the question of, are they staring because it's like you're acting crazy, or are they staring because they're one of the pod people?
I was gonna say they're staring because like they know something, or they just happen to see you walk by, and like it gets to a point where you can't even really tell. Like by the end of the movie, you kind of figure out like, hey, they react to emotion, so they're all like emotionless, right?
Yeah.
So you have to pretend to be emotionless, and that kind of sense already a fear, because like, how does one not be emotional, right?
I mean, yeah, for the fact that and this is this crazy part of the movie for me of like they try to blend in and they do a good job until they see this freaking dog with the man
Banjo,
head.
the dog.
Yeah, with a man's head, and it freaks out one of our characters. Like, well, of course that's gonna freak you out. That's a dog with a head, dude with a head. Which is funny to me because it's like because I believe it was supposed to be the homeless guy with his dog playing a banjo earlier, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
He gets assimilated as well, and it's sort of like so they can also assimilate other creatures. That's interesting. Or I'm guessing maybe that might have been an error because the dog was sleeping next to him, and just the plant sort of just accidentally assimilated them both.
Yeah.
Which is just again very
very, very terrifying.
Very there's a moment where I'm pretty sure it's stop motion, but yeah, it's very very creepy, very creepy.
Very, very uncomfortable. Even then, when the whole transformation thing, like the aesthetic of this film is very good in the horror and the creepiness, something you would expect from this era of horror too. Like the formation of the pod, people are like, oh, jeez, that's just so gross.
Yeah, it's a lot of grossness, right?
Yeah, and like I'm immediately thinking of Elizabeth's death, which I'm like, beautiful, beautiful way to go out. It's just like the decayingness. The only way you can get that is like an old school film like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like I feel like if you did this, it'd be so CG, and you can just it'll be done well. Don't get me wrong, but it's something about like the analog way of doing it just makes it so much more
realistic.
Yes.
Like it's actually there.
And like to go along with your paranoia, this is when he just like confesses to his love for her, and then she's gone, and then now comes the essentially the ghost of his this woman he loved to haunt him.
I mean, yeah, like her pod person equivalent pops out, and it's like, come with me, just go to sleep, and we can be, well, it doesn't go like we can be together, just like go to sleep, and then you can, be like us.
Yeah, no, that's exactly why. Like, they're not emotional. They don't understand emotion. So they might not. They don't really understand that. Like, the reason he's sad is not because it's just someone he loves, someone he wanted to be with, which is like such a human thing to do. Like when you lose a loved one, you lose a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Your immediate reaction is to cry, to yell, to scream, or just be in silence sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, and there's something about like I didn't really think about it until I saw that scene. It's like, do they just pop out naked?
I would imagine so, because I think when you look at because we do see like a pod person like in the middle of transforming or whatever, and I'm pretty sure they're just naked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, like because
Because the reason I bring that up is like there's something like giving the sense of temptation for him to join her, like or at least attempting to tempt him.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, because this is the woman he loves and appears before her all,
in the nude,
in the flesh.
Yeah.
And like you can be one with us, So So like I don't know. This is me going like being like what does this mean? Ask me what it means.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. But no, like what I do love about the ending too is that you don't know. Is it ever confirmed it was the next day or has it been some time? Because we never know when Donald Sutherland's character becomes a pod person.
Well, we do know that he got that mild sedative that essentially, like, he was been fighting this entire time.
Yeah.
Try to get him to sleep. Which, I mean, ultimately is probably what happens. Like,
Yeah.
he just falls asleep under the place where he's hiding. Because ultimately he can't go any longer, and it just sort of takes over. Like, he just finds him and takes it over. It could have been maybe a day, maybe a couple of weeks. It doesn't. Not entirely sure. I mean, either way, like from when we know the ending, because there's a moment where they're gathering up a bunch of like school kids.
Yeah.
To essentially pod people them too, because it's like, why do we gotta take a nap so early? That sort of thing. So it's still.
It's so scary too, because like they're like you see, what's happening. At that point, you don't realize he's already a pod person.
At that point, you're kind of just you have this feeling of like, okay, he knows how to blend in at this point.
Yeah.
And he's just having to watch all this shit go down,
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to figure out how the hell do I get out of this, or how to how to.
He lets children die.
Well, I mean, he doesn't let children die. He already is a pod person.
He is a pod person, but you get the sense that he lets children die.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I know. For you, it's like, well, he's already a pod, so it doesn't really matter to him.
Yeah, but you're thinking of like before he's revealed to be a pod person.
Yeah.
It's like this is that's crazy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what the hell is he gonna do?
Yeah, what the hell is he gonna do?
At this point, he's trying to figure out how to get the hell out of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Also, pretty crazy that there's a point where like he's like, oh my god, there's boats, we can go out to the sea, and the boats are carrying all the pods to send it out.
That's how much time they've simulated, which also makes sense too.
That's how coordinated the pod people are.
Yeah, very coordinated, because they strike at night where everyone's asleep, so everyone already is like should be assimilated by the end of the night.
Yeah, that's it's at the end it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say this, and this is probably just me not reading in too much, but asking too many questions because of the sci-fi nature of it.
Yeah.
Right? Of like, so how do so I'm guessing they just like, how do the pod people? I'm guessing the pod people will just reproduce like other humans, right?
Yeah.
But are the humans that are born from the pod people, or are they regular people that they have to then assimilate?
Oh, you're asking like where does it go now in terms of their biology?
Yeah, because like, do they live forever? Or I mean, granted, I'm asking too many questions.
Yeah.
Because it's just the science part of my brain that kind of just goes like, okay, scientifically speaking, how would this species of like, how does these alien species even survive? Because we know that they explain like, we came from a dying world, we searched the cosmos, and we found this planet to be suitable, and now we will assimilate you or whatever, that sort of thing, right? And I'm kind of just like, okay, but then what happens at the end though? Like, just like,
yeah.
I don't know. My brain kind of just goes like,
considering that they're supposed to be very plant-based, probably seedlings, but then what does that entail afterwards, right?
I mean, they probably don't need to eat a whole lot, do they?
They don't.
We don't ever see them eat. Well, I guess to be fair, yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that because like with plants, you plant seeds. That is how you.
That's how they grow. And
That's
stuff.
how they grow.
And that's how they first start anyway.
Yeah.
Like they attach to the plants, and then the plants.
But a human is a dying creature.
Well, yeah. Obviously, all those beings will die eventually. But that, yeah.
Do you replicate the body?
I think they do.
I'm saying, do you re-replicate the body?
I don't think there's any chance, because at this point, the original is gone.
The original is gone, and then you're
you're
essentially working as you're essentially just one big cell at that point. You just keep repeating yourself into the point that there is no.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it becomes like sort of a cancer situation, because
Yeah.
like that's how cancer works, right?
Yeah.
It's like your cell accidentally messes up and then just starts to fuck up or whatever. So I mean that we wanted to avoid that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm asking too many questions.
I mean, that is a good question though too. That is such a sci-fi question.
Yeah, it is one. Yeah, it's a sci-fi question, but it's kind of like, like, funny enough, if we did the review of the Thing, I would also be asking, so how does the Thing even, like, what happens when the Thing gets out? Like, what happens if the Thing actually takes over the planet? What then? What does it do?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, say, the xenomorphs from Alien, right, where it's very clear, like, oh, it's a parasite, has a parasitic relationship of, like, plant, egg, and host, chest burster, that's how we reproduce, that's how the whole horror works, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's sort of like, okay, but how does it,
Eventually it'll die off.
yeah, like, where does it, because even Leonard Nimoy as the pod person says himself, like, survival is the only thing that matters, that's why none of these emotions are meaningless or whatever kind of thing. And it's sort of like, but then, like, how do you guys keep going from here? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
I think that's kind of the point too, though. It's like they're in a perpetual, like, we will go to the next planet.
I mean, I guess maybe that's the point. Like,
Yeah.
it's probably clear that maybe eventually the cycle just ends with, like, maybe no more humans being able to reproduce or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just sort of, like, we'll just turn into plants, and then when the planet inevitably becomes inhospitable, they'll move to some other planet that has
Will
life.
it be the planet or themselves?
Or then probably themselves.
Most likely.
Although they are an advanced species now as humans, they could maybe, and if everybody becomes a pod person, they can work together to make, like, crazy spaceships that can go around the planet. I don't know. Either way.
Yeah, that could work.
Either way, again, I'm asking a bit too many questions, but overall, it's a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's still, like, the horror element is still there. It's very quiet, and that's kind of like the thing I like about it, because, like, you don't know at what point what person becomes a pod person. You don't know how far it's reached, because, like, at the beginning of the movie, you have Elizabeth's
husband.
I think it's actually his boyfriend. They don't say they're married, but they're just living together. So, like at some point he becomes one. We don't see it when he becomes one.
Well, it's implied
when it happens.
Yeah, it's implied when it happens. Yeah. But that's such a. I think it's more like it's crazy how fast it is.
Yeah.
Like
overnight, literally.
And it just sort of it starts to because she follows him around, and it's very clear it's kind of like low level, like they're just meeting random people every now and again, passing stuff along, and then by the end of the movie, it's this whole operation.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely insane.
And it's the fact that it's done in such silence.
Yeah,
it's so quiet.
Yeah, it truly is.
You don't know, like, at first you think it's just one person. It's gonna be like, oh, and then, like, as it progresses, no, it's more than one person. It's even implied maybe that even further before the boyfriend, because, like, there's that moment with the priest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, creepy priest. Like, yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, maybe.
But, like, the way he's just watching Elizabeth walk away with, like, the plant pod, it's like, he knows. He has to know. So I'm like, dude, how long has this been going on? It's probably been going on a lot longer than we any of us thought, and that's why
it just sort of all collapses all at once.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But I mean, anything else to say?
I got nothing else to say. It's still a good movie. The horror elements still hold up, even though I feel like it's more the horror is like the distrust, the psychosis of it, and the quietness of it.
Yeah, I like how, because I feel like the past movies we reviewed for our Halloween sort of retrospective or whatever, we've done like Halloween, we've done Alien, we've done a lot of stuff that have like a lot of like jump scare kind of things, right? And this one barely any sort of jump scare.
No.
Except maybe when Leonard Nimoy shows up at that spa area. But besides that, like, yeah, you're right. It's just a very slow, methodical, pace, and then ultimately, I think that's why the whole Scream thing works, where they just point and go like, like, because it's such a break from the silence and the tension.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, like you said, it still holds up. And it's probably half the reason why it's like, when you think of Invasion of the Body Snatcher, it's this one or the very original. Like, I mean, to be very honest with you, when he told me because I remember there had to been a third one, a third remake.
Yeah.
But then it was like, wait, there was another one in the mid 2000s. Wait, what the hell? When did I not know about this?
Well, I think it's one, you can't beat the first two. Secondly, what do you like? Even from like the the commentary aspect, what would you even talk about?
I guess maybe consumerism, but at the same time,
Could you argue this one has consumerism already? Because like, there's that moment where like the boyfriend just all he does is watch TV.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
I would say this one's a little more harder to pinpoint down in terms of like the commentary. Cause
It's more like it's one of those seeing eye pictures, right?
Yeah.
You see what you want to see, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, because like even with the first one, it's depending on which one on like what side are you on for that one.
Yeah.
So that one that one at least makes sense to me. But this one's like, okay, where are you going? Because like there's so many times when like, I don't think psychiatry is a very is a profession that a lot of people respect, and it's the one that a lot of people say definitely need the conversations of like mental health, all that kind of stuff. So that's definitely needed, especially with like couples therapies and all those kind of things.
Mhm.
And to portray one as like being kind of a gaslighter is kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and then like there's like he's him saying like we should bring back the nuclear family, and like okay, this feels very weird for that statement to be done. But no, yeah, I think you're right. This movie still holds up for me. I don't know if I'll watch those other two though, the more recent ones.
Yeah, because I think originally when we talked about the thing,
Yeah.
reviewing the thing, you were kind of like, what if we do like compare, John Carpenter's thing to the original thing, which is something that not a lot of people know about. Like there was like an old like 40s, 50s
Yeah, I
film.
think the thing that came from another world or something like that.
Yeah, which is also based on a book.
I mean, a lot of these, they're all gonna be based on books, man.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
Time frame we were in.
Yeah, but that would have been neat to do this as well. But of course, last minute change. It's kind of hard to watch multiple movies.
I mean, we agreed never to watch the new one.
Yeah, no, I was like, like not the new thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think everybody agrees how they feel about the movie.
Yeah, I
right?
didn't even watch the movie. I was like, I don't know. This is the height of like CGI stuff, so I didn't want to watch it. And then like I remember one time in my one science class for college, the professor was like, "Don't watch it." I was like, "The professor told me not to." This is strange. But no, I think this is a good place to put a pin on it. I hope you guys enjoy your Halloween. If you enjoy what you heard from us, be sure to follow us on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're most likely on Instagram, where you find a podcast tree for all other places you can find us, like on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. We have a link to the YouTube for your audio listeners out there who want to put a face to the voice. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and a Patreon for any form of support. And yeah, it's been me, your boy Eli.
It's been me, Joe.
You guys have a good one and happy Halloween, guys.